Welcome back all. Thank you as ever for continuing to get in touch and sharing your thoughts and opinions. The best place to do so, comment section below, and if you have a longer story, maybe with some pictures, you can email hi@tuesdayatdobbs.com. You may notice our stickers from Libertatia have arrived and are now available over at thelibertatia.com. That's a company that we set up originally with our first product, the tool roll, and we're now starting to get a few more products in place. So this is the oversized sticker. It's been a bit more popular than we thought, so it's currently sold out, but restocking will be from the 9th of September. So you can order it now, and we'll make sure to ship it out the second it arrives. So these can be ordered now, as well as, of course, the thing that started it all off, our Libertatia tool roll, made with British oilskin fabric and handcrafted by us here in England, specifically by Monica's mum. This took us, I'm not joking, 1 year to design, to agonize over all of the dimensions, the fabric, the zip, everything like that. First product we've ever made, and it's got a little zip section here where you can put your small bits and pieces, and then of course pockets for your tools. Wraps up into a very nice compact tool roll traditional shape, and you can attach it to the front of your bike on your forks, for example, or you can just keep it in your panniers. And also, finally, Monica's prints are available over at thelibertatia.com. This is the bestseller, Motor Guzzi Mechanics, over in Palermo, Sicily. It was almost like they were setting up specifically for a photo shoot with all of those Motor Guzzis outside the dealer or outside the mechanic, just waiting to get worked on. Let's begin. Behind enemy lines. This is from Max in, well, Max is a traveler, Hong Kong, Shanghai, Cape Town. Let's start. Freddie, I once used to ride a military. I love this. I'm not joking, I spent about 2 hours researching this. I found it so fascinating. I once used to ride a military Kawasaki KLR, pictures included. Max, I'm going to assume these may be pictures of you. I don't know if they're generic ones, but either way, brilliant. Used to ride a military Kawasaki KLR diesel-engined bike. Sounds weird. Continuing, that was superb. Mostly fueled on aviation fuel, but at a stretch could work on anything combustible. It was a real Mad Max machine that might be the thing to have for the future when petrol engines are discontinued and petrol stations, I assume, become harder to find. I would love to get one for my collection and would probably run it on red diesel from a farm or cooking oil. Max from Hong Kong, Shanghai, Cape Town. Have a listen to this. Pictures up as I describe this. This is fascinating. I'm reading here from the Silodrome website. This may look like an ordinary drab green military Kawasaki KLR 650, but it is actually something altogether more special. It's one of the rare bikes converted to run on JP8, which is a grade of jet fuel similar to kerosene or diesel. That's very, very important. So it's for military use, in particular by Marines and Special Forces. So these heavily modified Kawasaki's to run on diesel have in essence been made for predominantly the US Marines to head off into war. Can you imagine Marines racing on these bikes through the deserts? Continuing, the Kawasaki KLR 650 diesel made by Hayes Diversified Technologies. The military demand for a dual-purpose motorcycle that can run on JP8 has tempted a number of investors and manufacturers over the years. This is largely due to the hefty military contracts that could be won. One key issue traditionally has been the fact that the motorcycles almost invariably run on gasoline, and this is the problem. This is why they're diesel. Most other military vehicles operate on diesel or similar fuels like JP8, which is typically interchangeable with diesel. So you can have an entire fleet of tanks, overlanding vehicles, jet planes, and they can all run on the same fuel. The problem has always been motorbikes. because it's just a huge amount of extra hassle having to take a load of petrol specifically for motorbikes when everything else is running on jet fuel or diesel. This is why they've turned them into diesels. So, continuing, one of the very few to make an actual success of the idea is Fred Hayes, who is the chief executive of Hayes Diversified Technologies, a military contractor based out of Hesperia, California. The decision was made early to use the Kawasaki KLR 650 as the starting point, as it was already a popular military motorcycle, albeit in gasoline-powered form. And I've taken a look at this, incredible history. So the reason they've done it is genuinely from an essential point of view. They haven't turned these bikes into diesel machines just to think, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we tried that to see if it could work? No, these have a genuine story behind them. They've had to be turned into diesel-powered motorbikes for the military. It's an essential point of view as opposed to just an engineering feat. What can we achieve? That gives it a huge amount of added weight. These do come up for sale, but it's incredibly difficult to find them. Predominantly from what I've researched, it's the US Army that used these and they were sent over to Iraq and places like that. The only place I've managed to definitely find some of these in the past that have been sold to civilians is over in the US. So the best thing to do is go and search for ex-military auctions, sometimes on eBay, but specifically over in the USA. This is what I found. In fact, I wish I could have found you some that are readily available. This probably gives the best example. This is one of two that I found. This is from an auction from 1 year ago, and they're selling one of these diesel Kawasaki's that's got just 124 miles on the clock. It's no coincidence that both of the ones I found, they've both come from ex-military auctions. I mean, this one is Meckham Auctions, and I think they specialize in old military equipment. This is also over in the USA. This gives an even better insight. This is from allsurplus.com. Again, Army Surplus website. Kawasaki KLR 650, 2009 model diesel engine, $8,700 this went for. So it did sell. 75 bids for this. And you can see two of them lined up here in an old dusty office. Total price including all the fees, $10,500. So these are seriously desirable bikes. If you can find one of those, you're a lucky man or woman. If anyone here owns one, please send me a picture. Let me know the story. How on earth did you manage to get one of these? Because my lord, they're rare and the backstory is incredible. Imagine owning a bike that's been ridden by commandos. Moving on, furious Harley-Davidson owners. I had so much insight into this, into the shape of Harley-Davidson in general, from specifically American riders. I thought I have to share this because this comment here really sums up how a lot of the traditional Harley-Davidson owners feel about the shape of the company right now. This is from Angel Host. Harley-Davidson went the woke route. They're now paying for that decision. I know 5 guys who sold or are selling their Harleys because of the CEO's woke decision. Harley-Davidson really don't learn anything from Bud Light or Disney. The message couldn't be clearer. Go woke, go broke. I had to do some research on this and I found out that I think in essence the Harley-Davidson CEO, who's a German gentleman, he is seen by a lot of the traditional Harley riders as incredibly woke and an eco-warrior. And the fascinating thing with this is that the feelings are so intense from the traditional Harley owners. They just do not want an eco-warrior European running Harley-Davidson. They feel he doesn't represent them as riders. He doesn't know what they want and he shouldn't be a voice for Harley riders. People are furious about this. Angel Host, thank you for that insight. Moving on to Tim in the UK, carrying on with Harley. Motorbiking, whether for fun or essential transport, needs to be cheap. With cost of living, it has to make sense, and Harley-Davidsons can only be for the wealthy, most of which prefer to be in a car. They are not the sensible choice of transport. Harley-Davidson are in trouble here in the UK. There is now not a single dealership in the north. All have closed in the last year. There is nowhere to get a service and owners are being forced to go to independents. Chinese and Indian bikes are starting to take over. The quality of the bikes are now on par or better and are 1/3 the price of Harleys. This leads on, Tim, thank you for that, perfectly. Triumph have just announced that their 400cc bikes, the 400X and the Speed 400, they have had huge sales success on a global scale with those two bikes. They've just hit the 50,000 sales mark. That's with their collaboration with Bajaj motorcycle manufacturers to build these two seriously popular bikes. So what's happened with Harley-Davidson? They know that these small capacity bikes are the bikes that sell, so why aren't they bringing the 400cc-ish category to Europe and to the USA? I thought they were going to do this, but I was doing a bit of digging to see what has happened to their 400cc offering, and I was a bit surprised by this. So they have made a 400cc bike, and they've done it with a collaboration with the Indian company Hero. It's called the X440. Have a look at the pics here. It's selling in India only, to the best of my knowledge. So Harley-Davidson have made a 400cc motorbike, and they are only selling this in India. And the cost converted to pounds sterling is £2,170. Look, it's an okay looking machine. Adventure Bike Rider gives a bit more insight into this, and I'm quoting here. When Harley-Davidson launched the X440 into India's market in mid-2023, we wondered if the bike might make it to the US market. From everything we've heard so far, no, that's not the case. But it does appear that Euro customers, at least, are going to get the next best thing. MCN reports the UK market and the rest of Europe, by the sound of it, will get a 440 model from Hero itself. So not branded as Harley-Davidson, same engine from what I've read, same bits and pieces here or there, but significantly changed enough so it won't wear the Harley-Davidson badge, and you can't really tell the similarities from an untrained point of view unless you know what you're looking for. So Hero's the company that's building the X440 for Harley-Davidson and has its own similar single-cylinder model called the Maverick 440. So this, and I'll just get some pictures up for myself, this is what we, in the rest of the world, are going to get. It doesn't look anything like a Harley, so I would actually say there's nothing even to say here, because this isn't a Harley-Davidson at all. No one's going to look at that and think, yep, it's just a rebadged Harley-Davidson, because it's just not. Look, it looks fine, but there's no bloodline there at all with Harley-Davidson. So this is not something that's going to get a stronghold for Harley-Davidson in the small capacity segment at all. And just going back to look at the X440 for sale over in India, I think other bikes do it better. Royal Enfield 400s are better looking, Triumph 400s are better looking. I don't think they've quite got that right, Harley-Davidson, unfortunately, which is a shame. You think about the potential they have to make a mini Harley Sportster 400cc. I can see that being a bit of a miss. On now to South African life from Dirk. This is such a nice insight, Dirk. Thank you for sending this over. These are Dirk's pictures included, just to give you a taste of this beautiful country. Dear Freddie, I'm a 5th generation sheep farmer in the Karoo region of South Africa and learned to ride on my dad's 1979 Suzuki DR400S when I was 7 years old. I would first like to comment on how relatively little bikes have progressed since then. This was a fantastically reliable bike. Extremely easy to maintain, 140 kilos, 27 horsepower, and 60 to 70 miles per gallon, with a top speed of 87 miles an hour. The biggest improvements I see by far now are in the brakes and tyres. Dirk, I'm going to jump in. I've been saying this every so often because I completely agree with you. You're right. Take a look at this. 400cc Suzuki DR400S. This was back 45 years ago. It's 140 kilos, so it's really light. 27 horsepower, so fine for a 400cc bike, and it gets 70 miles per gallon. These are figures that haven't improved at all in the 45 years. Certainly, this would be, I'm pretty sure, lighter than the modern day equivalent. Yes, you can eke out some more horsepower, and I'm sure they could have back then. But you look at the fuel economy and everything else like that. From those figures, Dirk, I strongly agree. Carrying on, it seems manufacturers could only make bikes bigger and bamboozle us with electronic features since then. I currently own a 2007 Transalp 650 with 50,000 kilometers on the clock. That's worth over here 20 lambs. A 2017 BMW Urban GS with 40,000 kilometers on the clock. That is worth 64 lambs, and an SYM Trailblaze 200 that I bought as a farm tool, and that over here in South Africa, in Karoo, that's worth the same as 13 lambs. A few pictures attached of my biking memories of Southern Africa. Doug, that's the most brilliant insight. South Africa is breathtaking. The pictures are superb and it looks like a dream out there. I'm intrigued. Suzuki DR400S. Let's have a look at this. Launched in 1979 to 1980. But what I found is this. I want to focus on the successor, the Suzuki DRZ 400S, pictured. This is a 133 kilo bike. It's got 39 horsepower, 400cc, and it was made from 2001 to 2009. So I wanted to focus on this because it's more modern and it's easier to find these. So this, I think, is what I need for my new career as an off-road motorcyclist. I was quite intrigued by these. For one, I love the look of them. And they are very, very keenly priced. Take a look at this one. 2003 DRZ 400S. £2,200, reduced from £2,900, and it was listed coming up to 1 month ago. A lot of these are for sale for cheaper, but they advertise that the carbs need work. This one's ready to go with a recent MOT, no real issues at all, new braided cables added recently. Great bike, sad to see it go, genuine reason for sale with just 13,000 miles on the clock. And imagine that, 39 horsepower from a bike that weighs 133 kilos. This is the recipe. These are the ingredients for a proper off-road bike. If I had the money, £2,000, I'm really tempted by that. I mean, I'm genuinely tempted now looking at that. Okay, I'll move on. Dirk, thank you. That was fascinating insight. On to Richard now. A painful drop. This is huge. Richard, Freddie, a friend of my brother, dropped his Honda Africa Twin. Just dropped it. No crash, just dropped it. He literally had to step away from it as it fell when he lost balance on it. This is something that any of us could do if we just do a slightly bad slow speed maneuver, or we just drop our bike in the garage when moving it about. Yet this simple drop cost Richard's brother's friends £5,000. Yes, £5,000, 4 exclamations. You could buy a whole brand new, fully kitted out Royal Enfield Himalayan 411 for that alone, and then not even care what happened to it. This could be a possible future video. How much is the most someone has spent on repairs when they have simply dropped their bike? No crash, just dropped it. Let me know. I will definitely share the best one, the worst one. I had one, in fact. I shared this on an Instagram post. I'm so sorry I forgot your name. But a Lithuanian gentleman who lives in Canada now, and he showed me his T120 that was hit by a car. And he got home and his bike was on its side. And it was just really the drop that damaged it. The bike looked okay, but the bike, almost no mileage at all. Very, very new modern Triumph T120. It was classed as a write-off, so he had to just accept it was gone and get another one. You know, bikes can be written off so easily. On now to electric bikes. Can they work? After last week's conversation where I discussed the Can-Am electric bikes, the Origin, I said it's not a workable solution. electric bikes for anything other than city transport. 99% of people strongly agreed with me, but because I enjoy a good argument and I enjoy being told off, I'm going to focus on two people who disagree. We'll start with John. Wrong, Freddie. Explain then Mark Travels to me then. So Mark Travels is a YouTube channel where he travels around India on an electric bike. Lovely guy, German guy, comes across really well, great videos. And someone else, Irish Rover, carried on in this vein. Freddie, very dismissive of electric motorcycles. Try following Mark Travels. So far, he's gone from Germany to Nepal on an electric motorcycle. Worth a watch. This is my point of view here. I completely understand that maybe it could be done, because I watched The Long Way Up with Charlie Baum and Ewan McGregor. I know it can be done to ride an electric motorcycle to different places. I had a Harley-Davidson Livewire for a week, and I managed to ride it to the other side of the country. I mean, it was the most stressful, time-consuming thing that I've ever done on two wheels. It was horrible, but I did manage to do it. This is my point though. The Can-Am electric motorcycle, let's just take this as the base mark. And of course, some other electric bikes may get an extra 30 miles of range, so you'll have to play along with me. Can-Am electric bike has a range of 70 miles. That's combined range, 70 miles. In reality, let's say this may be 65 miles of range if you're doing a lot of highway riding. But it says on the website, on Can-Am's website, that a 60% charge, 60% takes 50 minutes. And that's not accounting for the fact that in India, there are many places that I went with Monica where the electricity is very iffy. So we have to assume that most charges in India, they're going to be overnight charges, meaning you can probably do a maximum of 60 miles a day. But let's just play along and say you find a decent charger and you can charge at what Can-Am state 60% in 50 minutes. Well, if a tank range is 70 miles, 60% is, let's say, 38-mile range. You're going to be able to charge a 38-mile range in 50 minutes. That cannot make sense to me. I don't understand how it's possible unless you just accept you're going to be doing 80 miles a day in India, and then every single place you stop overnight, you give your bike a 12-hour charge, and then you get to the next 50 miles. That, for me, is the only way you can possibly travel through India. Because in my entire time in India, maybe I saw one electric charger in a city, although honestly, I don't think I did. And certainly in the country, in India, I didn't see one electric charger anywhere at all. I find it almost impossible to think anyone could do more than 60 miles a day on an electric bike in India. It's just not possible. There is no infrastructure in India for electric motorcycles. Someone tell me if I'm wrong, who's travelled through India and covered some decent distances on an e-bike. But both of you, John and Irish Rover, I really appreciate it because it's a great discussion, so thank you so much. Bike of the week now, this is coming in from David. Freddie, you should also check out the Yamaha XTZ 660. This is a slightly more adventure style motorbike than the Yamaha XT 660, but it has the same engine. Well, let's take a look. These were, pictures included, made from 1991 to 1999. 201 kilos, 47 horsepower, completely bomb-proof, widely regarded as bomb-proof across any platform that I've ever checked, through any owner that I've ever spoken to. Bomb-proof, single-cylinder, 660cc engine. The bike is named after the Tenere desert stage of the Paris-Dakar Rally in northeastern Niger. MCN rating for this bike, 2 out of 5 stars. I'll read the MCN review to you, actually, because this is a bike of the week that I'm doing. But actually, there are many accounts that say it's not that good. So owners rate it 3.8 out of 5, which is okay. MCN 2 out of 5, and this is MCN's sum up of the bike. The Yamaha XTZ 660, or Tenere, comes from a time when continental cool meant enormous trail-style bikes and a faraway look in the eyes. Actually, that might just have been piles, since the Yamaha XTZ 660 boasts one of the most uncomfortable seats ever created outside of the Inquisitions of 15th century Spain. The exhaust and spokes rot, and the electrics are poor. Have I sold it to you yet? I'll carry on a bit more. So we know that MCN aren't huge fans, and also the owners don't like them that much either, commenting and confirming on the fact that the long distance comfort is borderline disgraceful, but even though it's also been described as top heavy and daunting to ride, it's also described by Bennett as a bike that is as hard as nails. And take a look at it. I think it looks brilliant. So this is not a bike that's going to win any awards at all, but it's just a good, simple, solid lump of metal. I really, really like the look of these. I found one on Facebook Marketplace, listed 4 days ago, £2,750 for a 1991 model, which is the first year they came out. So it's got the square headlamp. The later models had twin circular headlamps, which I do admit look better, but something very cool about having the first year it came out. Immaculate condition, Yamaha XTZ 660 Tenere. This bike has been well looked after in my ownership. Recently had new chain, sprockets, Michelin Metzeler tyres, and oil and filter change. MOT for a year, V5 in my name. This bike is ready to go. My main reason for selling, I don't want the upkeep of two bikes. It's so gloriously 1990s with that white and red colour combo. It reminds me of the Honda Transalp that I rode in Tenerife. I really like bikes like this. I'll wrap it up there on probably not a good bike for Bike of the Week, but it's got a story behind it. It's got something about it. And for these old bikes, we don't buy them because they're good bikes specifically. You buy them because of the way they make you feel. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this week's episode. Have a brilliant week all. See you all in the next one.